China and Vietnam are linked by mountains and rivers. For years, the long boundary between them has been a peaceful one. The people of the two countries have supported each other, sympathized with each other, and forged a profound friendship in their long revolutionary struggles. But the Vietnamese authorities have a wild ambition to dominate Southeast Asia. Aided and abetted by Soviet social imperialism, they blatantly declared China their #1 enemy. These bridges and roads used to link the two countries. Now the Vietnamese authorities have set up barricades to block them. Vietnamese troops have made repeated incursions into Chinese territory and laid mines and built fortifications on Chinese soil. This is China's Pu Nhan Ling Hill, which was illegally occupied by Vietnamese troops. Vietnamese troops opened fire on Chinese territory at will and created grave incidents of bloodshed. In the 6 months from August 1978 to February this year, they made armed provocations on more than 700 occasions and intruded into Chinese territory at 162 places, killing or wounding over 300 guards and border inhabitants. China repeatedly urged and warned the Vietnamese authorities to desist, but they turned a deaf ear. They mistook the Chinese people's restraint and forbearance as a sign of weakness and an invitation to more bullying. They went further down the road of aggression and kept escalating their armed provocations. The Chinese frontier troops, driven beyond forbearance, were compelled to counterattack in self-defense. We will not attack unless we are attacked. If we are attacked, we'll certainly counterattack. China has proclaimed long ago that she means what she says. The Air Force units in naval vessels based in the border areas of Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region in Yunnan Province are on patrol duty, guarding China's airspace and territorial waters round the clock. The counterattack in self-defense started on February 17th, and it was launched from Longzhou and Jingxi in Guangxi and from Hekou and Jinping in Yunnan. Deep hatred for the Vietnamese aggressors, the Chinese frontier troops fought courageously and pressed forward with indomitable will, fearing no sacrifice. Lao Gai, capital of Vietnam's Quang Linh Son province, was a bridgehead from which Hanoi pushed its anti-China policy of aggression. Many trenches were dug here. Vietnam has long aimed its guns at China. Dong Dang is another anti-China bridgehead, the so-called Heroic Regiment. The 12th Regiment of the 3rd Division of the Vietnamese Army was stationed here. It took the Chinese frontier troops just one day to seize the city, and the Heroic Regiment was wiped out. The Chinese frontier troops pressing forward after breaking through all along the Vietnamese defense line. Cao Bang, another Vietnamese provincial capital taken by the Chinese troops. The Vietnamese authorities claim that the Cao Bang front is impenetrable on account of its difficult terrain. However, their attempt to hold on to it failed. Here, the Chinese troops inflict heavy losses on the 346th Division of the Vietnamese Army. A Soviet-made rocket launcher and rockets captured by Chinese troops. These are also Soviet-made weapons and ammunition. To scare other people and in a fit of self-delusion, the Vietnamese authorities claimed that Vietnam was the third military power in the world and invented the myth of its invincibility for all time. Now it seems time for them to sober up. In order to invade China and other Southeast Asian countries, the Vietnamese authorities have enlarged the scope of conscription from those between 18 and 30 to those between 16 and 45. In one family, the father and his 5 sons were all conscripted. Chinese frontier troops taking good care of the sick and wounded prisoners, in line with China's consistent policy of giving lenient treatment to captives. Strictly adhering to discipline, the Chinese frontier troops conscientiously protect the interests of the Vietnamese people. The Vietnamese authorities spread many rumors against Chinese troops to fan up national hatred. and deceive and coerce their own people into hiding in the mountains and forests. Chinese soldiers explode such anti-China propaganda with deeds. Vietnamese inhabitants in growing numbers coming out of caves and forests to return home. Chinese soldiers chatting cordially with Vietnamese inhabitants and sharing their own rations with them.
Hôm 21 hôm nay ấy, thì quân đội Việt Nam ấy gọi chúng tôi đi sơ tán ở trên rừng, đi mấy anh đi sơ tán đi đấy. Lúc ấy chúng tôi đi, nhà cửa chúng tôi còn vững nguyên si.
The people of Dong Lai village, Bat Sak County, telling Chinese soldiers about the atrocities committed by the Vietnamese troops. Under the pretext of clearing up the border areas, the Vietnamese troops burned down the houses of 33 families, rendering them destitute and homeless.
Còn về giúp đỡ chúng tôi, làm cửa làm nhà cho chúng tôi ở. Bây giờ thì chúng tôi phát gạo cũng
Chinese soldiers helping the people rebuild their homes. They return these undestroyed belongings to their original owners. They helped this Vietnamese worker find his lost gold. The rice which China donated to the Vietnamese people was withheld by the Vietnamese authorities. Now it reaches the people at last. Chinese soldiers working shoulder to shoulder with Vietnamese peasants, cultivating friendship between the two peoples. The Vietnamese authorities are morally afraid of this friendship and are doing their utmost to undermine it. Friendship Pass, a symbol of the friendship between the Chinese and Vietnamese peoples. Trains loaded with aid materials from China pass through here day and night, bound for embattled Vietnam. The Chinese people didn't hesitate to risk supreme national sacrifice by giving the Vietnamese people strong backing and offered the vast territory of China as a reliable rear area for the Vietnamese people. Today, Friendship Pass has become a target of Vietnamese artillery attacks. Even the room where President Ho Chi Minh once took a rest did not escape such attacks. Vietnam's aggression against China had been planned long ago. They stored these sacks of rice for the use of their army in its attacks against China. Rice which the Chinese people saved up to give as aid to Vietnam. These munitions were also given by the Chinese people to support Vietnam's fight for national independence. They're now used instead by the Vietnamese authorities to invade China. Such perfidious action runs counter to the will of the Vietnamese people and is condemned by public opinion throughout the world. The Chinese frontier troops' just counterattack in self-defense has the sympathy and support of the Vietnamese people. Some Vietnamese act as guides for the Chinese frontier troops. Others help Chinese soldiers find drinking water. The militia and people of all nationalities in China's border areas of Guangxi and Yunnan suffer greatly from Vietnam's armed incursions. Fired by bitter hatred for the enemy, they energetically support the front. They are the Chinese frontier troops' close comrades in arms who give them powerful backing in their counterattack. The goals set for this counterattack, as well as its scope and duration, are all limited. But the Vietnamese aggressor forces must be dealt a heavy blow so that Hanoi would come to understand that there isn't much future in acting as Moscow's hatchetman and playing the role of Cubans of the Orient in realizing Moscow's global strategy. Chinese frontier troops advance in the rain to hit hard at the Vietnamese aggressors. Chinese frontier troops attacking Cam Dong and Sa Ba, two important towns in northwest Vietnam. Sa, taken by the Chinese frontier troops. The Vietnamese authorities ordered their 345th Division to hold Cam Dong at all costs and dispatched reinforcements from the 316A Division. Chinese frontier forces took Cam Dong after fierce fighting, wiping out the Vietnamese defenders and trouncing the reinforcements. The attack on Long Son, a city of strategic importance in northern Vietnam, begins. The Chinese frontier troops, fighting valiantly, are advancing toward Long Son. Long Son is the gateway to Hanoi. It is strongly fortified and guarded by troops of the crack 3rd Division. The Vietnamese authorities stated that they would fight a decisive battle here with the Chinese frontier troops. To scatter in hiding caves when outfought is a major tactic employed by the Vietnamese troops. Searching every cave, Chinese soldiers gain good results. On the outskirts of Long Son is a huge network of caves and tunnels with storage areas for grain, water, and ammunition. from its dozens of concealed firing points, Vietnamese forces guard the railroad and highway leading to Long Son. Another cave stronghold outside Long Son. It is likewise destroyed by Chinese frontier troops. Long Son, under fierce attack of the Chinese frontier troops. Chinese soldiers crossing the Kikong River at several points after taking the northern part of Long Son. They're heading for the southern part of the city. Chinese soldiers crossing the Kikong River bridge that connects the two parts of Long Son City. Searching for remnant enemy forces. The administrative building of Long Son province. Tanks destroyed by Chinese frontier troops. A captured tank. Armored cars destroyed by the Chinese troops. Weapons and ammunition captured by the Chinese troops. In the Battle of Long Son, Chinese frontier troops achieved splendid results and by and large put out of action the crack 3rd Division of the Vietnamese Army. The counterattack was not a pushover. The terrain in North Vietnam, with its high mountains, dense forests, deep gullies, countless caves, and narrow paths, made things very difficult for the Chinese troops. Fighting to defend the dignity of the motherland and the happiness of the Chinese people, they braved all sorts of hardship and sacrifice, and won the respect of all the Chinese people. Striking back at the Vietnamese aggressors from February 17th onwards, the Chinese frontier forces captured in quick succession the three provincial capitals of Long Son, Cao Bang, and Lao Gai, and a host of other Vietnamese towns, including Dong Dang, Loc Binh, Phuc Hoa, Tat Khe, Quang Yuen, Ha Long, Tuat Long, Hoa An, Dong Khe, Jong Can, Gia Lin, Thong Nong, Sac Zam, Cam Dong, Mong Kong, Bat Sat, Sa Ba, Pho Lu, Kok Sam, and Phang To. Chinese frontier troops dealt devastating blows to Vietnam's regular and local forces guarding these areas and achieved the goals set for them. On March 5th, the Chinese frontier troops were ordered to begin their withdrawal from these areas. China declared at the very outset that the counterattack would be a limited action and that we do not want a single inch of Vietnamese territory. All we want is a peaceful and stable border. The Chinese frontier troops bidding farewell to the Vietnamese people. Chinese frontier troops have kept their word. By March 16th, they completed their withdrawal from Vietnam and returned to Chinese territory. Facts show once again that China means what she says. Chinese people of all nationalities in the Guangxi and Yunnan border areas warmly welcome the return of their heroic sons and daughters. The Chinese frontier troops deflated the arrogance of the Vietnamese aggressors and exploded the myth of their invincibility. The Chinese frontier troops secured peace and tranquility on China's border and defended China's socialist modernization. The Chinese people are proud of their heroic army. Under the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party Central Committee headed by Chairman Hua Guofeng, the Chinese frontier troops are determined to unite with the people of the whole country, heighten their vigilance, and be ready at all times to repulse any intruding enemy. They are resolved to work hard for the defense of the great motherland.